So Brandon Herrera versus the incumbent. Let's talk about it. I think it's important that we recognize the monetary expense, the effort, the time, the energy, the fact that he is going to have his reputation dragged through the mud by the establishment simply because he feels that we deserve better, that he is not being represented, that the population of that district is not being properly represented, that the incumbent, Tony, is basically voting in opposition to the position of his constituents. This is not rocket science. The man very clearly is. He has voted against things that the local population strongly believes in repeatedly. And he gets away with it because he's part of the establishment and they don't want to replace him with a Democrat because that would obviously not be better, right? But nobody was seriously running against him. Nobody else had the political leverage, the political power. And, I was like a lot of other people. When Brandon set out on this path, I was like, does he have a shot in hell? I'm not saying he needs to win, but can he even put enough pressure to make it noticeable? And relatively speaking, I was optimistic. I looked at it and went, you have a charismatic, very articulate, very social media savvy, very good communicator. You have somebody who absolutely can convey a message, but he has zero political background. In fact, his political background is basically satire, right? He got enough votes that he was by far the number two, right? And his efforts probably contributed to a lot of the votes that didn't go to Tony. Not just the ones he got, but by making that message heard, by pointing out to people that, hey, this guy's not voting in step with what you believe, what you feel is right. He is voting against the things that you are in favor of. Well, even if you don't vote for Brandon, you voted for somebody other than the incumbent, right? You said, well, okay, Brandon's not the perfect mesh for me. I agree more with this other person. But that's a vote taken away from the incumbent, which was the real key here. It wasn't, can Brandon get 50%? That was not happening, right? Nobody thought that was going to happen. But the key was we pulled votes away from that incumbent. We forced it to a runoff. Now, well, Brandon has that much more time to pull in even more people. And is anybody who didn't vote for the incumbent going to change their mind and vote for the incumbent? Really? I'm sure some people will, but in terms of the large enough population of people, really? Which means that this is a super close fight, which means you need to get out and vote. If you are in his district, I am unfortunately not, but if you are in his district, go freaking vote. This is important, not just because, oh, hey, go Brandon, right? That's part of it, but the other part of that is the message it's sending to politicians in general. You can be replaced. You can have your power base ripped out from under you if you do not vote in line with your constituents. If your constituents feel that you are not properly representing them, the fact that you are the incumbent, that you are part of that establishment, and that the establishment does not want to replace you, that the local population can't. Because the establishment, as much as they dislike Tony, they still supported him. That's where he's getting his money, right? He has the support of the Republican Party in terms of this election, not Brandon. Even though he has voted repeatedly out of step with the party, that he's been censured by the party, he's still getting their support. Well, Brandon is basically going jab, jab, jab to that party and saying, hey, are you out for you or are you out for the people that you represent? Which is it? Are you doing what is right or are you doing what puts money in your wallet? gives you more power, gives you more influence. And if you're not doing what's right, you're doing what's wrong. You can get the power, the influence, and the money and do what's right. This isn't a zero-sum game here. They don't have to vote out of line with their constituents in order to be making it, right? like, there's money on both sides. Even if you want to play that game, there is money on both sides. Can't remember the name of the movie. I want to say it was an Eddie Murphy movie. Some lobbyist comes to him and goes, well, what's your position on this? Because I got money for you either way. You just got to tell me which side you want to go with. Well, I mean, yeah, at some point you go, well, this is still dirty politics. But on the other hand, like, you could at least vote in line with your constituents and still be making that money, be pulling in those funds, right? So it's a double stab in the back to your constituents to be taking money from somebody, from an organization that doesn't fall in line with their beliefs, and to be then voting against their beliefs. I think, and I've been talking about this with other people, I haven't talked about it a whole lot on this channel, but I think this is going to be a key part of politics in this coming election and the next one, and hopefully going forward. But there's a whole lot of people running for various positions that are spoilers, that are basically going, the incumbent or any of these people from the political machine absolutely do not represent the people that are voting. They were just the lesser of two evils, right? You're voting for your party because you don't agree with the other party, but you really aren't voting for that guy or the gal. Like, right, you don't like them, you don't agree with them, you think they're horrible, but you don't have another choice. I think that this is going to be huge, because how many people need to be in Congress, right, that are straight up voting their conscience and do not give a damn about the lobbyists? They don't care. They are not going to be swayed on these key issues by the political machine. How many do you need before suddenly that's an influential bloc, right? They may not be a coherent bloc, but they're the bloc of, hey, we're doing what we think is right. And damn the torpedoes, right? And I think they should treat it that way. I think that, say Brandon gets elected. There are several other people already in Congress who behave in this manner. I think they should form their own bloc. I think they should, whether they agree on a topic or not, I think they should make sure that they are keeping in communication, they are keeping those lines open and cooperating to the extent that they can to make sure that the issue is not lost in the political machinations. I'm sure I'm using that word incorrectly in terms of pronunciation, sorry. But make sure that the issue is actually front and center and not the political process, right? Because even if they disagree on the topic, they have different views. Hey, let's actually discuss it. Or, hey, this topic should not be the blockade to something else, right? That this should not be a vote that we trade off for something else. Because this is honestly not important enough to be that thing. We shouldn't be in conflict on this other topic because of this. Doesn't mean it's not important, but it means that this is a secondary issue. So take care, have fun, stay safe, and keep shooting.